Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John and this is going to be my entire 4K collection. Now the reason why I'm doing this is A, because I haven't done one for a long time and I've got quite a lot of titles here to show off, and also because, as you know, I'm doing a sort of my full collection. I'm breaking it down into shelves and all that type of thing, but it's becoming part after part after part. So I thought, rather than sort of keep it on going with that one, I'm going to break it down into sort of sections, and that this one is going to be my section of 4Ks, because I find that when I'm doing the shelf by shelf, I'm obviously adding to them shelves as we are going on. So I've probably got a lot more movies in there than I had when I originally shown them off. So I did want to sort of take a sort of change in pace with that, and I thought, well, I'll go down the 4K route. I'll try and get them all in one video, so it means I might not be able to talk about them as much as I usually talk about them. Also, this is what you would see if you're looking from left to right on the shelves. I'll keep them in a certain way, as you'll see. So first up is Arrow titles, and the first one is Demons 1 and 2. This is, and like I say, I'll link down some of the videos that I've got to do with these titles if you want to know a little bit more about it. But initially I'll just give you a few sort of brief overlook on some of these movies in this collection. So Demons 1 and 2, absolutely spectacular. This is the limited edition version, which I don't obviously you can't get anymore, but you can get this on 4K in quite a nice package actually. So that's Demons 1 and 2. Next up is Dario Argento's first movie. It is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Now this is a spectacular movie, I find, and obviously I've talked about the fact that some of these ones that have been previously released on a 4K Blu-ray, 4K remastered Blu-ray, aren't a massive uptick, but if you're just going for the 4K of this movie and you haven't got any other versions of it, you will have a really good time with it. So that's Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Next up is Dario Argento's second movie. It is The Cat and Nine Tails. This is probably one of the best looking ones of the Dario Argento ones that have been released as a 4K, and I'm really happy to get these ones. I won't go too far into all these upgrades that you're getting in Arrow, because sometimes I think they're just milking it a little bit too much, but I'm happy to get this one in my collection. Next up is one of my favourite Dario Argento and also my favourite giallo movie. It is Deep Red, or Profondo Rosso. This is the art original version. Those were the sort of regular 4Ks. I do think that Arrow, come on, you're going to have to stop releasing all these sort of variants of things and just get sort of back into making one definitive movie, which is what you said you would do when you first started off this this label in the 2010s. So yes, that's Deep Red. Next up is Halloween 2. I will be getting the other ones of this. I've made my mind up that I will be picking up all the other 4Ks. This looks absolutely stunning. I love how they've got this hard box on it. I just think the whole presentation of this package is great, and then will look amazing on the shelves when I get the other 4. I've got number 1 coming, and I will be picking the other ones off because I think the price of them is just about right at the moment, and they do come very quickly from the States as well. So that's Halloween 2. Next up is my Blue Underground movies. The first one is Daughters of Darkness. This comes with Blu-ray and CD as well. The CD soundtrack in here is stunning. It has a lenticular case as well. The sort of blanket overview of Blue Underground is they all look phenomenal. So that's Daughters of Darkness. Next up is Vigilante with a lenticular case. I hope this shows up on this the screen here. Absolutely amazing, and like I say, they all look stunning. Next up is another one of these special lenticular versions. It is The Final Countdown. This movie looks utterly unreal for the fact that when it came out in 1980, you would never imagine that something like that could look this good from a boutique label as well, who obviously aren't one of the big hitters, but they do a spectacular job with their movies. I wish more companies would do that. Next up is Dead and Buried. This is another lenticular case. This movie really shone for me on 4K. It's not the best looking 4K because I think it's just the way it was shot. It's shot in a sort of very sort of soft grainy focus, but it does look the best it's ever looked, and some of the outdoor scenes do look spectacular. The colour looks brilliant in here as well. But this movie really sort of delivered on this long overdue rewatch. Next up is Two Evil Eyes. This is a joint film by Dario Argento and George A. Romero, and I hadn't seen this for a long time, and I thought, well, I do like it, but I don't know how much I like it. But on a rewatch, I really liked it, and it does look spectacular. Next up is my favourite horror movie of all time. This is some Lucio Fulci ones coming up. It is Zombie. Just can't say enough about this movie. It looks utterly jaw-dropping on 4K. Highly, highly recommended. If you can get it, just get it, because you will just be blown away by it. So that's Zombie. Next up is The House by the Cemetery. This really shone for me on a rewatch. I have watched it quite a few times. I've never seen the great quality, although the Arrow video one is quite good. This one it just comes alive, and because most of it's shot in a cellar, it does look quite dark, or it did look like quite dark. This one, you can see everything going on. So that's The House by the Cemetery. Next up is The New York Ripper. This is a very exploitational movie, and it's got a lot of quite hard to watch scenes in it, but it just looks spectacular. And I had to get all of these Lucio Fulci movies because they are just some of my favourite horror movies of all time. Next up is William Lustig's, who actually owns Blue Underground. Maniac. He made this film, and it is a really grimy film. This is a 16mm print actually, so this is the kind of lowest quality on the Blue Underground ones, but that's not taking anything away from it, because this actually looks the best that Maniac has ever looked. So it's a highly, highly recommended film. It's a bit of a hard watch, but it also stars Carolyn Monroe as well, so that's Maniac. Next up is one of the best ever 4Ks you'll see in the way of a sort of boutique label horror movie, and it is Dario Argento's masterpiece, Suspiria. The colours in here look amazing, as I've always said, and the colours are just unreal. They have done a spectacular job. I think it took them about a year to get this to where it was, and you can really tell as well. So if you're ever looking for the definitive version of Suspiria, look no further than Synapse's 4K, if you can still get it. It's an absolutely brilliant movie, and a lot of these movies I do need to re-watch quite soon, because I watched them about a year ago, but I think they definitely need like a re-watch as well. That's Suspiria. Next up is some John Carpenter movies. First off is The Fog. I love this movie. I've got to say, this is probably my favourite John Carpenter movie. I went to pictures to see this multiple times, and I just have a great time with it. And I do think that this particular version on it does look spectacular. It's the best I've ever seen it. Will there be another one that looks better than it? Maybe, but for me, this is just unreal. I just love the film that much that I was blown away by it when I saw it. And these all need a good rewatch from me. So that's The Fog. Next up is Escape from New York. This again is the best it's ever looked. I think that Studio Canal, you can trust their movies. When they release a movie, you know that you're in for a good version of that movie. And I haven't seen them release something that was being really badly done. So I went to see this multiple times at the pictures as well. So that's Escape from New York. Next up is a movie that I hadn't seen actually, and it's one of his later films, John Carpenter's later films. So I was on the fence with it, but when I watched it, I did have a good time with it. And it's Prince of Darkness. The print on here is absolutely stunning, mind. It's probably one of the best ones I've seen of a Carpenter movie, even though I do think that all the John Carpenter movies do look quite good. I think he's got an eye for shooting a good looking movie, or he did, because he doesn't really do that anymore. Doesn't really seem to make the movies anymore, unfortunately. So that's the Prince of Darkness. Next up for me is the best John Carpenter transfer on a movie, and it is The Thing. I think that this looks unreal. This is everything you can imagine. And funny enough, it's not from Studio Canal, even though it looks like a Studio Canal release, because they kept in this overlook to it. And I think it's released by Universal, I believe. But it looks and sounds incredible. So and it's one of my favourite horror films of all time. And I'm so glad that it got the best ever version you could get. So that's The Thing. So next up, I have James Bond movies. First off is Casino Royale. I think that this is my favourite one of the Daniel Craig movies. It looks quite good, but not as good as I thought it would look. But I've heard bad things about these 4Ks. But this one, it's good, but I think it could have been a bit better. The next one, Quantum of Solace, is exactly the opposite. It's probably not my favourite one of his. It's probably the least favourite out of this bunch, even though I do like it. And it looks spectacular. This is the best looking one of the Daniel Craig ones for me. That's Quantum of Solace. Next up is Skyfall. This one looks quite good as well. It looks nearly as good as Quantum of Solace. These ones, especially Skyfall and also Spectre, I can't really remember them off the top of my head, so I will have to do a complete watch of these movies again, because I think Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, I do know them quite well, but these next two I don't. So that's Skyfall. Next, and then obviously the last one is Spectre. So this to me seems to have a bit of a gold palette. I don't know why that sort of is, but I do think it looks quite good as well. And I'm interested to get the last Daniel Craig one, No Time to Die, on 4K. Will it have the same cover as this? I really hope it does. I hope it doesn't sort of does a black one on the shelves and it just sticks out like a sore thumb. If you want to collect this, the movies that he did as James Bond. So that's Spectre. Next up is The Dark Knight. This is a lovely little. I've been trying to get the other ones of this, the first one, the third one, but I just haven't got my hands on them yet. I got this from CEX for cheap, and I'm really pleased that I got the stickers off them. You can kind of nearly see a little bit of a mark on them. But these days, with the stickers that CEX put on theirs, I can't ever think I would get this presentation again from them with a sticker on it without it ripping the complete front of it. But it's funny, I had this one for ages and I watched it loads of times when it came out, but I haven't watched this since I got it. I do need to get the other two, although I've got them on Blu-ray, to watch this and appreciate it again, because I think that this trilogy for me is long overdue a watch. Next up is 2001. This is a spectacular box set. I do love this movie. I didn't love it when I first saw it, When I first saw it, I thought, can't understand it, and I put it to one side and thought, well, I'll get to it one day. I tried multiple times to watch it and then failed miserably. When I got the 4K, I thought, right, I'm going to sit down and watch this. I'm going to just take it for what it is and see if I can get through it. And I must admit, in the 4K and just going with it, not knowing I wouldn't understand it fully, I do think it's an absolute joy to watch. It just looks spectacular. Some of the special effects for 1968 are unreal. So I think this is, and this I knew I had to get this set, because I thought if I'm going to keep it, I want to get this one before it sells out, because obviously these 4Ks do sell out quite quickly. So that's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Next up is A Star Is Born. This is a movie I thought I wouldn't like at all. I did watch it on Sky Movies and thought, well, you know, it is what it is. But I tell you what, I had a really good time. This one is just, it's such a good movie. It's one of those ones. It's not a huge uptick on the 4K. It's pretty good. The sound on here is unreal, but it's one of the movies that I like that much that I just wanted to get in the ultimate format, even if the 4K isn't a massive jump over the Blu-ray. So that's A Star Is Born. Next up is Alien. I would love them to release a few more of these, because I've had this for quite a while, and I thought I would get, I didn't really want to get them all on 4K, probably just Aliens, which I think might be getting released. So I thought, well, I'll get this one, I'll wait till Aliens come out and I'll watch them sort of back to back. Of course, that hasn't happened, so I think I'm going to have to just bite the bullet and just start watching this one. But I have checked it out, and it does look really good as well. But it's one of those ones where you think this type of movie really benefits on a 4K, because some movies you get, like especially on VHS, and you could hardly see what was going on in this picture because the film's that dark. But in this one, with it being, you can sort of see into the darkness, it makes the film sort of that much more enjoyable for me, because you can see these sort of scenes that you previously couldn't watch again, like see what was going on. So that's Alien. Next up is Apollo 11. Now this is one I wanted to see for a long time when I watched it, although it's got some stunning stuff in 4K, but I think there's only 25 minutes of original footage that they shot, and they've had to put some other sort of stock footage into it to a certain extent. So that them bits look incredible. The other bits look more like sort of standard version, but I'll tell you what, the story in this movie is spectacular. To think that they could do this, and this whole thing where they worked out how to use the gravity of the Earth to get a slingshot to chuck them into the stratosphere. I just don't understand it at all, even when I watched it. But I've got to say, as documentaries go, this is utterly fascinating. So that's Apollo 11. Next up is a movie I like that much on Blu-ray, I thought I'm going to give it a shot in 4K, and it is Angry Birds. Now this is it's a great movie. That's all I can say. It just looks spectacular. It's sort of vibrant. Colours on here are really good, and we watched it. We had fun with it. I don't mind these movies if they're entertainers, but it looks really spectacular. That's Angry Birds the movie. Next up is Angry Birds 2. Now this had to be got from the US because you can't get in the UK for some reason. Now this features IMAX enhanced picture, and you can really tell this is the best looking for this sort of cartoon CGI movie. This is the best looking one I've ever seen. The movie itself is quite good. It's very watchable, I find. These two together, I could watch these a lot more than you would think. And it's really funny, I find, and also the picture quality on it is just unreal. It's so vibrant. It's just mad how nice it is. So that's Angry Birds 2. Next up is Annihilation. Haven't watched this movie. I did check it out, and I thought that the picture quality was all right. It's one of those ones where it looks nice, but I think it's, you know, one that probably the Blu-ray could probably look quite close to. But I think I got it cheap in a sale. Haven't watched it yet. That's Annihilation. Next up is Alita Battle Angel. I've always been interested in this one because I've got a thing for robots in general. I just think they're just a great, very interesting thing to watch. And I watch loads of videos to do with robots on YouTube. This I can't remember the company's called, but they do these sort of robot dogs and that. I think they're just really fascinating. This movie was always one of the ones that said, oh, it's really good, and then you hear loads of bad reviews about it. But I've got to say, I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait till they release a sequel, which I think they're going to do. And I think the special effects in here are astounding, so I really enjoyed it. That's Alita Battle Angel. Next up is American Psycho. Now, this is one of the movies that I like that much that I had to get it, but I did do a bit of research. I wouldn't just immediately go out and get the 4K and say, oh, well, it's got to be better, because sometimes they aren't. Sometimes the Blu-ray is definitely better. This one is a subtle upgrade. It's not a huge upgrade, but in certain scenes, it looks spectacular. I knew it wasn't going to be the greatest of upgrades, but I liked the movie that much that I thought I'm definitely going to get it, because it was being on my radar to upgrade. So that's American Psycho. Next up is AntMan. I'm a big fan of AntMan in general, although I haven't seen the movie, but everything I've seen AntMan in the universe I've enjoyed. So I got this one cheap. I do know that the Marvel ones don't look like utterly spectacular, but I thought, well, it was cheap. It was probably as cheap as the Blu-ray was, and I thought, well, I'll just pick that up and I'll watch that whenever I get around to it. So that's AntMan. So the next one, and a recommendation from my good friend John Clancy at the Movie Collector. He told me to get this movie because he thought it was stunning. And when he tells me something stunning, I usually think he's got a very good eye for this. And it is Apocalypse Now. I remember when this movie came out, I didn't like it at all. I thought it was okay, but I didn't understand it, and I also thought it just didn't do anything for us. I have tried it. I have bought it in loads of formats and just never went back to it. So when he told us about this, I thought, right, I'll just get this one. I'll get the 4K and just see how I get it. Maybe it's because I watched it as an older person. I thought, yes, this movie, I liked everything about it. The end scene with the cow is not my favourite scene at all. But in general, this movie is just, and it does look stunning, especially in the scenes when they go in the jungle, when they're on the river. It's just absolutely brilliant. So that's Apocalypse Now. And also on a recommendation from John Clancy is Murder on the Orient Express. This movie is a movie that, I like these movies when they've got like a lot of cast members in a particular movie. I think they really I like them for some reason. I don't watch many of them, funny enough. I don't really watch many of these Agatha Christie things these days. I did used to watch them when they first come out in the 70s. But I had a really good time with this movie, and he said it's one of the best 4Ks he's seen. I might need to see this on a different time, but I thought it was great. But I think that the next one, when it comes out, Death in the Nile, will be a much better looking movie because it'll be shot 100% outside. And I do know at the start of this movie was shot like kind of outside as well, and it looked spectacular. But I think the shots in the trains aren't as good as I thought they were going to be, but they still are absolutely incredible, don't get us wrong. So that's Murder on the Orient Express, but this is the Italian version. It was a lot cheaper to get that one. Next up is Aquaman. This is it was a good film, actually. I watched it on the Sky Movies and I had a really good time with it. So I thought and I've done my research and I thought, is this a good movie, a good transfer, and it was. So I picked that up and I put it on. It looks spectacular. The colours on here are some of the best colours you'll ever see on a movie. So that's Aquaman. So next up is Baby Driver. This is a great film from Edgar Wright. I like all of... That's Amazon. This movie is probably, it's just got everything you could want in it. It's got like fast cars, it's got a beautiful picture, and also the soundtrack to here is absolutely amazing. I think he plays the soundtrack at exactly the right times it needs to be played. I had an absolutely great time with this movie. I would love to see you do movies all. I know he's going to do more movies, and I think he's one of the best directors out there. But I think you would like. I like to do another type of movie in this style. So that's Baby Driver. Next up is Batman from 1989. Now I love this movie. Went to see this at the Pictures with my wife, and love these slipcovers. I love everything about this set, these movies, and but I haven't watched it yet. It's funny that, because I kept saying to my wife, "Do you want to watch Batman?" She says, "No, not interested in watching these at all." So I'm going to have to watch these by myself, which I will do when I get around to it. So that's Batman. Next up is Batman Returns. Now I think this movie looks better than Batman for its set designs, although Batman is the better movie. And this movie is great apart from Danny DeVito when he's the Penguin and he just talks and this black gunk comes out of his mouth all the time. And to be honest, when I said to my wife, when I'd said she will watch these movies, she says, "I do not want to ever see Batman Returns again for this thing coming out of his mouth." And I could agree with her on that one. A bit where he's eating them fish as well, it's just absolutely disgusting. So that's Batman Returns. Next one is Batman Forever. Now, funny enough, when my son was little, we used to watch these movies, probably these two, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, all the time on a loop, because that's what he used to watch. And we didn't go down towards the darker ones to a certain, couple of years later. Although he loves Batman now, it's his favourite thing when he watches movies. And this one, to me, out of the all four, this one looks spectacular. The 4K on here is unreal. I know the movie's not the best of movies, but because we watched it that many times, I personally don't think it's a bad movie, because it seems to be one of them ones that's ingrained in your brain because it's been rewatched and you've got a bit of nostalgia-ness about it. So that's Batman Forever. So this should have been the title of that one, Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin. So yeah, so what can you say? I like the movie, but I know that it's got massive problems. I do think that George Clooney is a great Bruce Wayne, and I think he's a terrible Batman. Arnold is great in the movie, and the movie does have that. It's got a lot of problems, don't get us wrong, but I just switch my brain off. I watch it, I enjoy it. It looks spectacular, and yes, it's never going to be the best Batman movie out there, but I don't have some of the hate that some people have for it. So that's Batman and Robin. Should be Batman Forever. Next up is Blade Runner. This was a movie that I didn't like when I first saw. I put it on and I thought, this makes no sense. I don't like it. I don't like the whole darkness of it. I don't like the fact it's raining all the time. It had nothing that pleased me. But more I've watched it over the years, the more I've liked it. And on this one, finally the 4K did kind of click with us to how beautiful this movie does look. It's more of a stylish movie than an action movie. I think I was hoping for another Star Wars there, which obviously it isn't. But it looks spectacular on here. So this is the final cut, and I think the final cut is my favourite cut of the movie. I have seen all the other 3,000 cuts of it, but I was happy to get this on a 4K. This is one of the ones I thought, right, I'm going to get it on 4K, finally make my mind up about this movie. Do I like it or not? But I must admit I did like it, and yeah, had a good time with it. That's Blade Runner. Next up is Blade Runner 2049. Now, I was on the fence about this one after thinking, well, I don't really like Blade Runner, or didn't really like it. Would I even like this one? Now, I watched it and I went into it with no sort of fandom for this one, and I had a great time with it. Really enjoyed it. And also what I thought of was, now I know that the director of this is the director of Dune. I think that I get this more now because I know that what this fella's all about. I know how he's more stylish, and it's more what you're looking at is fantastic. So for me, this movie is due a rewatch as well, because I was a big fan of Dune. So I do think that I'll appreciate this even more when I watch it again. So that's Blade Runner 2049. Next up is the Titans of Cult version of A Clockwork Orange. Now, like I say, some of these do have videos down below, and I'm going to try and link all the ones I can. There's probably about 1,000 videos, a bit of an exaggeration, linked down below. But it's spectacular. I just love it on the shelf. I just love this movie in general. I love everything about it and the presentation. I could buy 50 million versions of this movie, even though I don't like doing that. So next up is Clockwork Orange, and this is the special edition that came out. Now this one is probably the best one to get because it's got an extra disc in here, which these ones don't have, the standard one doesn't have, and you get two amazing documentaries, which are also released on the HMV Premium Blu-ray, so you can get them. It's not as if you've got to get this set, but I love this film, I love everything about it, and I think it looks spectacular. It looks great on the shelf. I mean, the look of a Clockwork Orange is unique, I find. Next up is The Shining Special Edition. Now, when I saw Keith from Euphoria Pictures unboxing this one day, I thought, I already had it on 4K, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to go for this, because I just loved everything about this movie. This is one of the ones where I wasn't really bothered on getting 4Ks on sort of bigger versions, but when I saw that, I thought, no, I'm going to definitely go for this, because it just looks that great. And I thought that the 4K, the sort of slip of that was decent, but there's just something about this one. It just had that extra little sort of thing about it. So that's The Shining. Next up, like I say, I'm on my next shelf now. So this is what you see if you're looking across the shelves. So some of these ones don't have, these are the 3 or 4 that I don't have with slipcovers on. I would like to get slipcovers of them, but I don't know if I ever will. This was the first one I got as a 4K, and this came with a 4K player. And it is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I don't know if I'll ever watch this, if I'm honest. I will watch it, but I don't know what I'm going to think of it, because it's not really my type of thing. I'm not a big fan of Harry Potter or anything, even though I do think they're well made. I will watch it, and it's one of the ones where it was top of my list when I first got it, because it does look pretty good, but then it's kind of way down the line now, because I've got a lot more better films on 4K to watch. But it never come with a slipcover, and then after I got this one, I thought I'm going to definitely try and get the slipcovers. As you'll see on probably everything I've got has got slipcovers. Next up is Doctor Who Twice Upon a Time. Now, I'm a massive fan of Doctor Who when he does these shared episodes with him and his previous former self. I thought this was a brilliant thing that I really enjoyed this one. I do enjoy them all, even when not the very good ones, when the 2 doctors or 3 doctors or 5 doctors get together. They should do more of them, if I'm honest. Should definitely do one with the current Doctor Who with someone else. I think David Tennant might be going to do that. I do think that the recent Doctor Who is just ultra poor. I just don't know what they're thinking of when they've it's not the fact that it's a woman, it's the fact that just the storylines are just abysmal. So, but this one looks spectacular as well. It did say it was going to come with a slipcover, and it didn't. How many times have been there and that setup? Next up is Overlord. Now this is a great film. This I got this knowing that it was going to be quite an extreme movie, and I tell you what, it's pretty bloodthirsty actually. And I do know it's got a slipcover, but I haven't got it. I think it's one of the ones that I don't really get with a slipcover. I might get a Blu-ray slipcover for it one day. So that's Overlord. It looks really nice as well. And the next one is the one that got in the subscriber mail from my good friend Keith from Euphoria Pictures, and it is The Fifth Element. Now this was a funny movie because I knew that I'd tried to watch this film a few times and I just never got into it, and I thought it was a bit too weird for me. Just I didn't really get it or understand it or anything to do with it. So when I got this one, there's another one, I put it on and thought, right, let's see where I go with it. And I'll tell you what, I really, really enjoyed it. Now sometimes you get a movie that's in 4K, and because it looks that good, you do tend to pay a bit more attention to it. So that's what I did with this one, and the fact that I did invest in the movie made me, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't like it, but I knew that when I watched it, well, I did like it. So that sometimes is a good thing, to get a movie and just say, right, I'm going to give it one last go. The set designs are just unreal. So that's The Fifth Element. So back to slipcovers. Next up is Beetlejuice. Just recently got this, just recently watched it, and it was another movie that I quite liked back in the day. Hadn't watched it for a long time, so I put it on again to see, do I still, some of these movies you get and you think, oh, I really liked it back in the day, and you watch them again, you think, what was I even thinking about? I don't like it at all, but I really did enjoy this movie. It was strange to think that Michael Keaton isn't really in it that much. I thought he was in it a lot more than he was. It's not a problem for me, because I think that the stars of the show were the couple that died at the start, which is no spoilers there. But the film looks beautiful on 4K. It's got an amazing soundtrack as well. So that's Beetlejuice. Next up is The Big Lebowski. This is another movie that I've always wanted to watch, and when I watched it, I didn't get it at all, and I'd put it off for the longest of times. I think I bought it on DVD, Blu-ray, got rid of them, never really give it a chance. On the 4K, I thought, right, This is it. I get it on. Does it resonate with me? And it did. I had an excellent time. I understand now why people like this movie so much, because I think you've got to see the full movie to get the thing out of this. Now, the picture quality in here isn't the best 4K. I find it to be very, it's a very sort of brown looking film as well. But the film itself is stunning. It does look good, don't get us wrong, but it's not like a one that you think, wow, this is like a massive upgrade over the Blu-ray. I would imagine the Blu-ray to look quite similar to it, but it is a great movie which I really enjoyed. The Big Lebowski. Next up is Blade. I've just recently bought this one and I've checked it out to see what it looked like, and it looks absolutely amazing, man. It's got that 4K. When you put it on, you go, oh, this looks nice, and that's what you want at the end of the day. You want something to look a bit more spectacular. They've done a great job on this. Can't wait to rewatch it. Don't know if I'll get if the other two come out in 4K. I'll probably get Blade 2, which I really liked. I don't think I've ever seen Blade Trinity. I don't think I want to. So that's Blade. Next up is a funny movie. It's Choppa. It looks spectacular to a certain extent. The robot in here, big fan of robots, as I said. It looks spectacular. The movie itself is a bit, I'm not too sure. I need to give this a second chance. I think I might watch it with my wife and see what she thinks of it. The initial sort of idea about the fact of this robot, that they try and sort of, this gang get this robot and they try and turn it into a sort of real person in the way it thinks and sort of acts and swears, is really funny actually, but it's something about it just doesn't completely resonate with us. But I will give it another shot, and also my wife might enjoy this movie. So that's Choppa. Next up is another one of those movies when you think this is an ultra classic and I don't know if I like it that much. It is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This looks really nice. It's not the best looking film on 4K, if I'm honest, but it looks nice from all the other versions I've seen. And I don't know, this has got all of the different versions of the Close Encounters on it. I've always struggled with this movie. I know that I do like some parts of it. I know that some parts of it aren't as good as other ones. I think it's a movie that could have been, a lot of this could have been cut out. If this was like a short, I'm going to say 90-minute movie, it would have been utterly spectacular. I think it's a little bit too long for its own good, but it's another one that I've got in 4K. I'm going to give it another shot. I haven't got round to it yet. And yeah, it's one of the ones where you think it's a classic, I've got to have it, but do I really, really like it or not? I mean, some of these ones I don't think are the best movies on the planet, but this is one of those ones when people are talking about, movies that you should like and you don't really like. Close Encounters always was in there with me. I always thought there was going to be more to it. So anyway, I will be watching it again, and I'm interested to see if I think that it's one that I will keep in the collection. So that's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Next up is Cruella. Just bought this one, checked it out. It looks spectacular on 4K, which is what you want at the end of the day. And yeah, I'm really interested to see this. Me and my wife want to see this when our shifts will collide. And yeah, some of these movies, like I say, it was only £15, so you go for it because you think, well, if I was to get it and really enjoy it on Blu-ray, probably about paying about £12 to £15 anyway, and you get this one and you think, well, I've got to go and rebuy it. So I try not to double dip. So if I didn't like it, I always sell it. So that's Cruella. Next up is Deadpool 2. I got this because it was only £8 from CEX, and to get this, one a bit more of a bumper edition with a couple of cuts on it, I thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. So it's a picture of my son. I had a really good time with it. I do think the first one's better. Interesting to see what the second one's like. I hope that the third one, I don't want them to go a little bit too PG with it, because Deadpool should be 15 to 18 at least. So that's Deadpool 2, and it does look quite good as well. It's not, these Marvel superhero ones and things like that just don't always look the best that you've ever seen in a movie, but they do look pretty good, don't get us wrong. So that's Deadpool 2. Next up is Deepwater Horizon. This is a great movie actually. It's a true story which I knew about, that this oil rig had exploded and people trying to get off. I do find that this is like kind of jargon heavy. It does make you think that the viewer should know everything they're talking about. They do talk about all the technical terms, and sometimes it loses you a little bit. There should have been a little less jargonish, and I think it would have been a bit of a better movie, because sometimes you think, well, it's like basically getting like how to mine oil out of a thing. It's like you're getting some out of a textbook for the dialogue. But anyway, the film looks spectacular on 4K, and obviously the whole explosion, the whole end of it is the best part of the movie. So that's Deepwater Horizon. Next up is a subscriber mail from my good friend Leon Talks Film, and it is Doctor Sleep. Now he sent me this, and I've got to admit, it's got the director's cut on Blu-ray, which is really hot. This is hard to get, so I really appreciate Leon sending this to me. And I did watch the longer version on 4K, and to be honest, I had a great time, because I was kind of apprehensive to think if I got this movie and it kind of tarnished The Shining for me, which is one of my favourite films of all time. But I don't think it did at all. I think it added to The Shining, so I can't wait to watch these back to back. I will be watching the director's cut next. And I do think that if you're on the fence about this and you do think that you love The Shining but you won't like this, give this one a shot, because it is a really decent movie. It's a long movie, but I just find it's one of the best ones I've seen that you think this can't be as good as it's not as good as The Shining. It's just like a different movie. I just think it's like a complementary movie to The Shining. And I do think that if you're thinking about it, do give it a shot, because you'll be surprised at how decent this movie is. And it does sort of, there's a load of harkbacks to The Shining, and also the ending part of it is just, you've got to see it to believe it. So that's Doctor Sleep, and thanks once again Leon for getting that for me. And next up, I'm going to leave it with this last one. This is all the ones up until D on the shelf, and I can't think that I can go all the way through it. This video will be about 2 hours long, so I'm going to leave it there, and then I'm going to do another one. Hopefully it's just going to be 2 parts. It might be 3, but I think I can get them into there. I don't think I've talked about them too much on this video, and I do want to make a kind of a quick snappy one, and then that's all my 4K is done. And I'm going to try and do this maybe with other sections of the setup in here. I'm going to link all these videos together. I'm putting this 4K in with my complete collection videos as well, even though I haven't labeled it as one, but it is part of it. And so enough waffling. The last title in here is Dunkirk. Haven't watched this yet, but I've looked at a few clips on it, and I think it looks really good, especially the water scenes when it's flying over the water. It looks really nice, and sounds good as well. And there's a lot of movies in here that I've got with thinking, right, I'll get this one probably in a sale, probably 2 for 25 or 2 for 30, and I thought this is one I will give a go with. There's a few that I do look at and then go back and maybe look on my phone in HMV, see what the review's like of it. And if they've got like a really poor review, I'd say like Midway, it said it wasn't that good on 4K, because I was thinking about picking it up. It does make you think that, well, it's good to judge them. Now I know this looks good and it's a 4K worthy title, so that's why I got it, although I haven't watched it yet. But I think I've watched more 4Ks than I've watched of most of my movies in sort of collections. So I'll leave it there on this video. And I do know this one looks really nice, and it's another one. It's not a very long one actually, which is funny for Christopher Nolan. Okay, so I can imagine part 2 coming out quite soon. Hopefully part 2 will be the rest of them. There'll only be 3 parts, if that, and then you'll have seen everything I've got in 4K. And I must admit, my 4K collection is really something I really like, and I like dipping in my 4K quite a lot. I think that I do like to think of my 4Ks to be my favourite movies. And if a movie's like this, which I see in a sale and it's good, I think I'll add that to the collection. And then obviously in retrospect, if it's not that good, you can sell it or give it away. So that's Dunkirk, highly recommended for picture quality. I don't know about the movie, I haven't seen it yet. And okay, so thanks for watching. You take care, and I will see you on the next video. Cheers.